right, it's coming up. It seems like, yep, okay, we're back up on YouTube. I don't know for how long, but you're going to have to go back to my website on YouTube, VK3CSJ on YouTube, and look for a live feed. It'll come up saying live, and you'll see two of them. There's the old live stream, which will be sitting there looping, and then there's a new refreshed stream that's live right now, just for your benefit. And again, apologies for that mucking around, but yeah, there it is. So the image you're seeing there is the shadow cast by the moon going across Western Australia. So that's pretty impressive sort of footage to see. And I've also got some images that how it, of course, looked here in Melbourne. This is taken by Eddie Pang of the Astronomical Society of Victoria. So we only saw about 10-11% coverage here in Melbourne. Hardly worth looking at, to be honest. But there it is, just a small slither of it across the sun. So, but still, it was worth it for everybody that went out to Western Australia, to Exmouth, to see this amazing image. In fact, the article says here that more than 20,000 people converged on Exmouth in the far northwest corner of Western Australia to witness the solar eclipse. A rare spectacle occurs when the moon passes between Earth and the Sun. But while the view of the eclipse from Earth was limited to a thin sliver of land and ocean, the Himawari 9 satellite, sitting 36,000 kilometres above Earth, captured an impressive top-down view of the phenomenon for all to see. The video below, or the video, shows the shadow of the moon passing across Earth's surface on Thursday, initially moving over the Indian Ocean, skimming Western Australia, and continuing towards Timor Sea and Indonesia. So there it is. Impressively, the temperature dropped by several degrees during the darkness of the eclipse. Canaveral Airport cooled by 3.5 degrees between 10:23 a.m. and 11:38 a.m. local time, before reheating by 6 degrees in the afternoon sunshine. Yeah, so there it is. So, but we've got an eclipse in Sydney. I'm not sure exactly how much of the eastern part of Australia will be covered by this total eclipse, but I think it was 2038, I remember hearing. I didn't really go looking for that information for tonight, but I remember something vaguely about 2038. All right. You're tuned to ASV Radio, VK3EKH. Let's see if we can bring up our Space Weather Woman while the internet is still connected. And we'll bring up Tamitha's latest solar report. Stand by for Tamitha. Come on, where's that video? I can bring that up first, and then cue Tamitha, and let's see how we go.
Solar activity may be picking up, but the sun's aim continues to be poor. Those stories and more in the news this week. If you want to learn how weather from our star causes impacts at the Earth that shape the future of our world, join Professors Dr. Jenny Meehan, Michael Cook, and myself as we guide you through a space weather certificate program like no other. To enroll in the Space Weather and Environment Science program offered at Millersville University, go to millersville.edu/SWEN. It's weather for the 21st century. This forecast also sponsored in part by CW Ops. Space weather this week picks up just a little bit in activity. As we take a look at our Earth-facing disk, there are actually no less than 8 active regions in Earth view, and a couple of these regions are firing big flares, but just barely R1 radio blackout level. In fact, region 3272, which is the one that we were expecting last week to really give us some activity, is kind of quieted down. Taking its place has been region 3280. That one's picking up. And then there's a couple regions on the east limb, mainly 3281 and 3282. Those have been picking up in activity and are giving us some decent sized flares. But if you notice, it's all on the east or the west sun. Right about in the center sun, it's kind of a dead zone. In fact, when we talk about big solar storms being launched, there haven't been too many. The most notable was back on the 15th. You can actually see this filament eruption kind of launch gently up to the north. Right about the same time, you kind of see something going off to the east and something going off to the west. And so sadly, that's been the case. We don't really have any Earth-directed anything right now, so it's kind of a hurry up and wait mode. Meanwhile, as we take a look at our far-sighted sun, this is stereo A, and it's looking at the sun just a tiny bit from the side. You can see that kind of dead zone right there. That's the one that we're basically staring down in the center sun right now. That should orient you. And if you take a look at the east limb in stereo's view, well, you do see a few active regions that are going to be rotating into Earth view here over the next day or two. So that's definitely going to keep that solar flux boosted and keep us easily in the 170s. But I'm not noticing any real big activity, not huge solar flares, not big solar storm launches. So it looks like we're going to continue with about the same, maybe a little bit of percolation of R1 radio blackouts, but not too much. And that solar flux is going to stay high easily for another week. Switching to our moon, we are now passing through the third quarter phase on our way to a new moon, with the new moon being on the 20th. So you night sky watchers, if you want to catch those dim objects in the sky, like, I don't know, maybe the Lyrid meteor shower that's beginning now and will peak on the 22nd into the 23rd, well, the moon is pretty dim right now, so it's a perfect time to go catch it. Switching to our solar storm conditions and aurora possibilities over the coming week, well, we've had a lot of wispy solar storm launches pretty much to the east, to the west, and to the north of us. So what this means is we're going to have a lot of little glancing blows hitting Earth, but nothing super substantial. Nonetheless, it might be able to bring a little bit of a show to high latitudes. In fact, NOAA is expecting up to active conditions at high latitudes with even about a 35% chance of a major storm, and this could happen easily as we move into the 19th and possibly even through the 20th, simply due to these very wispy solar storms that are kind of hard to tell whether we're going to get much going at all. Now, mid-latitudes, of course, the story isn't quite as good. We're only expecting unsettled conditions, but we do have up to about a 10% chance of a minor storm. Again, this is kind of weak, so I wouldn't really expect all that much for you aurora chasers. Only if you're dedicated might you get something, and only if you're at the high end of mid-latitudes. So most obviously things are going to be pretty quiet. We do have that quiet moon, that dark moon, so you might get a little bit of a better show, but for the most part, if you're an aurora photographer at mid-latitudes, you might want to sit this one out and wait for a better show later. Switching to your solar flare and dayside radio blackout outlook over the coming week, well, we do have 8 active regions at least on the Earth-facing disk this week, and that is keeping that solar flux boosted well into the triple digits. In fact, we're sitting right around 170s to almost 180s right now, and that's easily going to continue over the rest of this week because we do have new regions that are going to be rotating into Earth view from the sun's far side. So dayside radio propagation should stay in the good range. Meanwhile, we do have a couple big flare players. This is mainly region 3280, 81, and 82. They are boosting that flare risk. In fact, NOAA is giving us about a 40 to 50% chance of M-class flares at an R1 to R2 level radio blackout over the next few days, and about a 5% chance of X-class flares at an R3 level radio blackout. And these are likely going to continue over this next week and not really diminish all that much because we do have those new regions that are going to rotate into view. So this does mean that big radio blackouts are still on the menu. Like right now, we're just getting the small pops here and there, but they're likely not going to go away, and this means continued radio noise on the bands. And GPS users, be aware near dawn and dusk that your GPS reception could get a little bit dicey. Switching to our radiation storm and polar aviation outlook over the coming week. Well, right now, everything is in the green when it comes to radiation storms. We're really quiet at the moment. We're in the D1 normal range, which is also the S0 range for radiation storms. We do have about a 5% chance of an S1 to S2 level radiation storm, and that's mainly because we have a couple active regions with decent flare potential. In fact, one of those regions, region 3280, is actually rotating to the sun's west limb right now, and that, of course, causes that radiation storm risk to rise just a little bit. So over the next few days, we are expecting about a 5% to be the norm. And also, we do have active ICAO space weather advisories. So if you are a pilot or a drone flyer, please be sure to check those advisories often. So the space weather this week is picking up just a little bit. Now we are kind of in a dead zone right now, so we don't have any real Earth-directed solar storms, but they are launching to the east, to the west, and to the north of us, which means we could get some glancing blows here over the next couple days. So aurora photographers, if you're at high latitudes, you could get maybe a little bit of a show, especially around the 19th and possibly into the 20th before things calm down. But if you're a aurora photographer at mid-latitudes, well, it might be better just to sit this one out and wait for something bigger. Now, amateur radio operators and emergency responders, well, we do have a few active regions that do have big flare potential, so we are getting R1 to R2 level radio blackouts, but you know, the risk for those big blackouts, the R3 level, are pretty low right now, so we're not expecting too much there. But we do have quite a bit of noise on the bands. You're going to have to expect moderate noise level on the day side, because that's just the way we have it when there's lots of active regions in Earth view. So enjoy the boosted propagation this week as the solar flux remains high, but just kind of have to deal with a bit of the noise on the day side. Now, we move to GPS users. Well, you know, GPS users and drone pilots, be sure to be careful around dawn and dusk, because we are still getting those R1 to level radio blackouts, and that could cause your GPS reception to be a little bit dicey. And of course, if you are a pilot, be sure to check those ICAO space weather advisories often, because they are out. I'm Tamitha Skov, the Space Weather Woman. Thank you for watching.
Alrighty. Bring up the level on 2, 1, 3, 4. Yep, excellent. Right, thanks, Tamitha. And of course, that report mostly concentrated on this week just gone. But for us amateurs that are probably a little bit keen on HFDX and all that sort of stuff, it's just a report on the way that this week has gone, and quite possibly the way the week coming up will also be. Because I mean, if I can just bring up our cycle chart for those watching YouTube and the repeater, that's still pretty current with the way our solar cycle 25 is peaking, well above the trend. So our sun is definitely doing great things there. Also, a couple of other images of the total eclipse, which I managed to find. So there's a couple of great images there of the corona, of the sun there with the moon totally eclipsing. That's a new moon, by the way. When we see a moon like that, it is called a new moon. So what I've always called a new moon has been it's been a waxing or gibbous moon. That's not a new moon. That's not what we call a new moon. So when we see the moon like this in a total eclipse, that's classified as a new moon. So I've just recently learnt. I've always thought a new moon was when you saw a very fine slither of the moon in the sky, but that's either a waxing or gibbous moon. That's what they call that. But yes, that's a new moon. How it looks on the screen right now. Just thought I'd clarify that. That's for my benefit, but maybe somebody else too. All right, this is VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel. I was going to talk about also SpaceX, this rocket that went up, but there is a video here of it. That's not it. I did have it. It's somewhere there. Oh, by the way, I found a map where this crater is. If you're watching the video side of it, now the image I saw had a red dot on the map where the crater is. For some reason, when I copied the image during Tamitha's report, the red dot didn't transfer through, so it's almost useless. But for those watching YouTube and repeater, if you can see where you see Madagascar, there's a ridge, deep ocean ridge, to the right of that island, of the right of Madagascar. You can just make it out, but the crater exists in that ridge that you can see to the right of Madagascar in that map there. So I thought I'd show that, but that's straight off Wikipedia. So it has a red dot on it, but for some reason it didn't transfer through, which is nothing unusual. Wouldn't it bother you? Okay, let's just finish off with spaceweather.com, just for the hell of it. Like most news reports do, they always finish with the weather. The solar wind is currently at 379.5 kilometres a second at a density of 4.63 protons per cubic centimetre. The disk of the sun, which I can bring up, there she blows. Okay, and we've still got YouTube, thank goodness. So the current disk of the sun is there. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sunspots that are being designated, as you can see on the screen, and that sunspot at the top there, 3282, AR 3282, is pretty much the sunspot that was photographed during the solar eclipse too. It was fairly easy to see in the images, so there it still is. Okay, and the sunspot number is currently 97, which was updated the 21st of April. And the radio sun is at 147 solar flux units, measured at a wavelength of 10.7 centimetres. 147 solar flux units. And the planetary K index, currently the KP is equal to 1.67, which is considered quiet. The 24-hour max KP index figure is 2.67, which is also considered quiet. And as far as the aurora over Antarctica goes, and I think I've captured that image here, didn't I? Didn't I do that? Where is it? There it is. Okay. So that's the current view of our aurora activity over Antarctica. There's a slight swelling towards the mainland, but it's not nothing to write home about. There wouldn't be any obvious auroras down at ground level being seen, I don't think. So it's fairly quiet at the moment, fairly quiet indeed. Okay, next to finish this off, let me see. Go back to me. All right. The spaceweather.com indicates that there is a minor geomagnetic storm watch. NOAA forecasters say that that minor G1 class geomagnetic storms are possible today, 21st, when a CME is expected to hit Earth's magnetic field. The CME left the sun on April 16. And it is taking an unusually long 5 days to cross the Sun-Earth divide. Such a slow manoeuvre is unlikely to spark anything more than a minor storm, they reckon. And there's also an interesting image here of a solar, what they're referring to as the solar tornado, just launched into space. A solar tornado was spinning around the sun's north pole yesterday when suddenly it lifted off, and NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory recorded the launch, so you can actually see that repeating itself, being looped. Imagine seeing that through a telescope. That would be pretty amazing. Unlike tornadoes on Earth, which are shaped by wind, tornadoes on the Sun are controlled by magnetism, and solar magnetic fields twist in furious spiral, dragging clouds of plasma around with them. This particular tornado over-twisted and pinched off and flew straight away from the Sun. The debris will not hit the Earth, though. So there's that one there, which I thought was rather interesting to record. Yes, those solar images that I showed before, the solar eclipse, came from, in fact, spaceweather.com page. So there was a person by the name of Paul Marley made the images. Where was he? Does he say where he was? Somewhere. Anyway, all right, and going down the page, as of the 21st of April, there are 2,327 potentially hazardous asteroids. So any one of those could hit us at any time and cause a mega tsunami which will wipe us all out. That's what we need. Okay, I think at this wee hour of the morning, not quite, but soon enough, we shall conclude tonight's transmission, just making up for the last 2 Fridays being off. But next week we'll try and keep it under the hour, which never really happens. So, this is VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel. On behalf of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, thank you for watching, trying to watch at least. And listening to the latest. I did have various other articles to go through tonight. Just ran out of time. I really did want to cover the Burkell crater out there in the Indian Ocean, and Sabrina Gonzalez Piskuski. I think she's doing some great things there. And I had a report about Hubble spots runaway black hole. I'll leave that till next week. Also a report about how humans have been predicting eclipses for thousands of years, but it's harder than you might think. That was an interesting article. And also, did the brightest gamma ray burst ever seen spawn a supernova? So I've just had to leave those over till next week. Yeah, all right, I think that's it, actually. So, on that note, this is VK3 EKH, concluding tonight's broadcast, but we will do a very quick callback on 80 metres to see if anybody is still awake and wishing to give a signal report if hopefully the band conditions will be good. Yeah, all right. This is VK3 EKH, listening on 80 metres for any stations wishing to check in. All right, now I have my headphones on, which I immediately took off. VK3JR, VK3BDA, VK3 Delta X-ray, VK3 SPX. There was another station a little bit off frequency, but were there any other stations I missed? All right, VK3 VIN. There was another one there. Okay, VK3ACZ and VK7JAH. Now there's another weaker signal there, slightly off frequency. Try again. Oh, VK3 Victor something. Not quite catching it. Just try again. Oh, we got you now. That's what you call speaking into the microphone. Sorry, Ian. No, Andrew. VK3KIS, we have you. Not a problem at all. All right, that's our list. That's a good list. Heavens above. Right, across to you there, Frank. VK3JR, VK3EKH.
VK3KH, VK3JR. Good evening, Clint. Good evening, everyone. Especially to Andrew and of course here. I missed most of the broadcast, but I did hear Tamitha, always good, even if she's out of date. I don't care, I still love her. Very worthwhile stuff. The Mr. article of next week sounds quite fascinating, Clint. Do not miss. Otherwise, not much. And for the solar report, very good report there on the sun from yourself. Thank you for doing it, and have a great week. VK732 or VK3 no test missions tonight. VK3 EKH, VK3 JR.
Yeah, good on you, Frank. VK3JR, VK3EKH returning. Yes, thank you indeed. And I always know that if I have a fairly decent solar report, either from Space Weather Woman or spaceweather.com, you're always fascinated to hear that. So not a problem, Frank. Glad to oblige. My apologies for not being here for the last 2 Fridays. So we should be right now for the rest of the year, unless I fall sick or something. Thanks, Frank. And okay on the 160 metre missions. Graham, VK3BDA, VK3EKH. Good to hear.
Continuing to have their meetings. There was one last night on Zoom. We have them on the third Thursday of the month. And unfortunately, I was an apology for that one last night. But we're tending to alternate them. And as far as some will be on Zoom and some will be actually face-to-face at Discovery Science Technology Centre in Bendigo. And also a couple of times, 2 or 3 times in the year, we'll be actually meeting for a meal. So at a pub. So we've done that as well this year. So we've sort of mixed things up a bit. So it's not just Zoom every month. It's something a little bit different to suit everybody, because not everybody can make it in person, so Zoom will suit those people, and it's also great to get together and socialise as well. And so we actually have been getting pretty good turn-ups at our face-to-face meets as well, which is really good. So probably not much else to report from this end. Just thought I'd check in, and it looks like the new website is coming along. Which is really good to see, and I've got my new login and so forth organised for that, so everybody is welcome to join our Bendigo section Zoom meetings monthly, which information can be found on the ASB Zoom information section. Or I think our Bendigo section info was yet to be put there from the other day, but I think there's a number of things that will probably need to go across on the new site. So, good to hear a lot of check-ins on the net this evening. Really good signal from you, Clint. Fantastic audio as usual. Have a great weekend, VK3EKH, VK3BDA.
Yeah, no worries, Graves. Yeah, same to you. VK3BDA, VK3EKH returning. Good signal from you, 20 over 9, and very loud and clear. So band noise is fairly quiet, actually. Sounds like you guys have been up to no good, so keeping busy, which is really good. And I note that the under the sections on the website, they don't have a page up for the Bendigo section, but I'm sure Mark is working on that soon. So, and I think all the the radio astronomy side of it's still being worked on as well. So, but we are hoping to get a page up for the broadcast here. We used to have a dedicated page for the AS3 broadcast, but that's disappeared at the moment. But there is on the revolving banner. On the revolving banner on the ASV homepage, there's an image been put up to advertise the ASV broadcast. So thanks to Mark for doing that, which has got a link to the YouTube channel. Anyway, I'm just hoping that my YouTube hangs in. I've got to find out why the internet's falling over. I might have to go to a different provider. Anyway, thanks, Graham. Across to you there, Craig. VK3 Delta X-Ray Warren Nobul, VK3 CSJ. EKH. I called you Craig. Greg, VK3 Delta X-Ray, VK3 EKH. Yeah, I slipped out my call sign before. VK3 EKH. Yeah, no worries there, Greg. Thanks very much for that. You're 30 over 9 here, so yeah, conditions are quite good tonight on 80. Absolutely. And yeah, I think Victoria geologically speaking, is a very interesting part of the country. We have quite a number of dormant or extinct volcanoes dotted around the place. What's the word for that? Where they kind of fall into the ground. There's an impression. There's a name given to that. Can't think of it right now. But even Mount Gambier is potentially a volcano that could decide to rebirth. As you say, you never know. But I remember reading somewhere there's a scale between I think 0 to 15 or something like that. If Mount Gambier decided to become actually active and erupt and explode, it's right up there on the high end of the scale. If it decides to do that, probably not in our lifetimes, but. Yes, it would be interesting to see some geological activity happening in our backyard. It could be quite entertaining. I believe there's a hotspot out off the coast of Tasmania. I don't know what the current status is of that, but part of the mantle is closest to the crust, the surface. They refer to as a hotspot, I believe. So, but no underground volcano has started yet. Anyway, yeah, it would be interesting. That's for sure. But yes, this mega tsunami, which was caused by the impact, is one thing, and I guess it could happen again. But no, I highly recommend trying to sort that video out. About that crater and the mega tsunami and having a watch of it, because he takes you using Google Earth. He takes you flying over the coastline, and explains how some of the land formations were quite possibly created by a tsunami coming in. It's very interesting, really. Anyway, all right, enough of that. Across to Steve, VK3 SBX, VK3 EKH. No worries, mate.
VK3EKH, this is VK3SBX. Yes, hi Clint. Thanks very much, as usual. Yeah, the interesting part for me, I think, was about the eclipse. I didn't get to go, as is probably obvious, or I wouldn't be talking to you now. But I did find a couple of bits of trivia quite interesting, and one of the effects was something like 850 megawatt deficiency in the WA solar grid at the peak of the eclipse, due to all the solar panels being having reduced sunlight, and some concern about the next eclipse in 2028, which will go right over Sydney and the most populous part of Australia. So the electricity authorities have to prepare in advance for that, otherwise the whole grid could go down, presumably. In regards to new moon, well, the thing is it's all about the geometry of it, Clint. Necessarily an eclipse happens when there is a new moon. So it is a new moon at the moment. I haven't looked out the window tonight, but if you do, I think you'll see the moon is definitely a new moon with probably just a little bit of a sliver. So if the moon's between the Earth and the Sun, then that's the time for a new moon anyway. So that's when eclipses can only happen at that time. Yes, one other thing, and of course the Bendigo group is on the ASC website, but you have to look under regional sections, not sections. So, hi Graham, you might like to follow that up, and while you're at it, you could get them to correct the spelling of amateur radio, which is a bit of a clanger on the website. All right, thanks Clint, and I'll be listening for next week. VK3EKH, this is VK3SPX.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. VK3SBX, VK3EKH, you are right. There is under regional sections ASV Bendigo and ASV Heathcote and ASV Shepherd. And I have noticed that. I mean, I have explored the site, and you're quite right. Under regional sections, there it is. So, all right, fair enough. Yeah, okay, note the amateur too. All right, interesting stuff, made a note. Thanks, Steve. And okay, on the new moon. Yeah, okay, well, I always thought it was a bit of a mix of that. But it was just interesting to see that definition. We're talking about at lunchtime, over the lunchtime table today. And I always figured that slither that you see in the sky, it's somewhere between being a waxing gibbous and a moon is the new moon. Anyway, never mind. All right. Good signal from you, Steve. Not a problem at all. Who's next? Ian. VK3VIN, VK3EKH. That's my fault.
Now your signal, anywhere between 5 and 9 and 30 over. The QSB was pretty serious tonight at this QTH. And some of the signals that I normally hear at 20 to 30 over 9 have been down low as 9. So it's all very, very interesting. Some something's going on up top there. Maybe it's got something to do with the eclipse and the new moon. Always enjoy the weather, the space weather, and Canada. So thank you for that. And yeah, look, dormant and extinct volcanoes. I'm always a bit skeptical as to whether any volcano can be considered extinct. I guess it's about the years in which it hasn't been active. I like to think of them as dormant because they can erupt. They can turn around and bite you a bit like a wild animal. But anyway, just a comment there about that. Frank, your signal tonight's probably one of the strongest I've heard. You 10 to 20 over 9, Frank. So good to hear your voice. And hope everything is well with you. Okay, that'll do for me. Thanks for having me on the call back, and thanks for the broadcast, even though I did miss most of it. VK3EKH. No, there's nothing else I need to comment on. I'm not getting notifications. Oh, yes, I am. I'm getting notifications of the broadcast, Clint, but I'm getting them 2 or 3 days late. And then it tells me that you're on the air live. So when I go and listen, you're not actually on the YouTube. So I'm not sure what's happening there. Wouldn't have the foggiest. Anyway, that's the way it is. Cheers, Clint and everybody. VK3EKH, VK3VIN.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. VK3VIN, VK3EKH replying. Marvellous stuff. Yes, I don't know. I'm not sure why the YouTube's delayed in your area. Might be because of the country internet. Might be a little bit slow. But if I come up on YouTube, I usually see a notification from YouTube, not straight away, but some minutes later, there's a notification. So it isn't instantaneous like YouTube is. It's 20 seconds behind the real time. We just have to live with that too. But yeah, so no explanation for that one, I'm afraid. I've got to go into my YouTube channel in a short while and delete the beginning part of this. I might actually leave it there for a little while, perhaps, but don't know. I'll have to investigate. But so there's something about YouTube. If I'm on streaming and the internet falls over like it's been doing, that interrupted YouTube stream, it goes into a loop, and it just sort of sits there looping. And I've just got to go straight in there and delete that particular bit of video. And I've been deleting a lot of videos there anyway. That stuff, it goes back a few years, which just sits there, so no need for that to be there. But that's another story. What else was there? Didn't take notes. But anyway, thanks, Ian. Note the signal has been up and down. That's okay. At least you can hear me most of the time. Thanks, Ian. Peter, VK3ACZ. Good to hear you. VK3EKH.
The total solar eclipse gave me great fond memories of October the 23rd, 1976, on a farm on the outskirts of Melbourne. I remember fondly watching cows run up the hill and demand to be led into the milking shed because it had suddenly gotten dark. Quite funny. Anyway, quick signal reports for you. I did a scroll around a few of the Kiwi SDRs. Up in Brisbane, you're only a 5x5, but over in Perth, you were a 5.9. Adelaide 5ARG, 5.9. Rotorua and ZL land, you were also a very solid 5x9 plus, sounding very, very good. Couldn't get anything from you over the Pacific because
after that rotten over the horizon radar. Hawaii was wiped out with it, so was the West Coast. But anyway, all that's left to say is thank you very much for what you do. It's compulsory listening on a Friday night, and thank you for doing it. VK3EKH, VK3ACZ.
Well, thank you, Peter. VK3ACZ, VK3EKH. Very good. Thank you for that. And yeah, well, we've been now doing this for over 10 years. I lost count, to be honest. But yeah, it's about the only time that I play with the radio and do something constructive. I'm hoping to get 160 back up and running very soon. I've been saying that for the last few weeks, but the situation here in this shack is it's just all over the place. I think you're maybe aware that I've got two Pro 3s. Usually one's on 160 and one's on 80, but one of the Pro 3s have fallen over. So I've got to find out what's wrong with that. In fact, I've got a whole lot of radios that seem to be suddenly falling over. Pro 3, even my TS2000 has finally given me troubles after all these years. So got to work out what's going on there too. And the dual bander, or quad bander, actually in the car is its UHF driver has decided to fail. It's not an easy thing to repair. So, I don't know, all these, oh, excuse me, are failing around me. And it's, so, but hopefully I'll get something going up on 160 soon. Yep. Who is next? Martin, VK7JAH down there in Launceston, VK3EKH.
Good signal tonight, sounding pretty good. Noise levels are fairly low. Apart from the minor dropout on YouTube, I heard all of it. I must admit, the moment you dropped out on YouTube, I did go across to HF, and 80 was fairly clear, so I heard all of it. So, a good night, from my point of view anyway. Nevertheless, fairly clear down here, and skies are not bad. Bit of cloud, but fairly visible, I'm afraid, as you probably pointed out. Not really an aurora sort of night, but nevertheless, not a bad night. 50-50 anyway. For doing a bit of starlight here, if I felt the urge, which I'm afraid I don't. I'm sitting in a handshake here with the heater on, so it's very comfortable. And I could put on the cold weather unification telescope out, but nevertheless, I don't think I will. I'll just keep talking on the radio. VK3 CSJ, VK3 Juliet up the hotel.
Yeah, no worries, Martin. Good signal from you tonight. 100% readable. Usually it's just a bit of a struggle to hear, but tonight's 100% readability. So 5 and 9 plus 10, 15, something like that. So yeah, a good signal indeed. And I don't know what the sky is like outside at the moment, but oh. Yep, I'm beginning to get tired, yawning. It's terrible. But yeah, no, there it is. We've certainly had a reasonable amount of aurora activity over the last few months. I've yet to see anything, though. I've yet to go out and actually visually see it, but certainly there's been some very good photographs taken from the coast here of Aurora Australis. So yeah, the sun's going through just a little bit of a quiet patch, but I'm sure that in the next week or so it'll give us something interesting to view. Lots happening, really. Thanks, Martin. Good to hear you. Thank you very much for calling in. And yeah, sorry about the YouTube stream falling over. I've actually been using the mobile phone as a hotspot just for reliability, but I haven't been able to watch any of my streams, Netflix and Disney Channel and Paramount and whatever. They don't play through the modem very well when it's on mobile on G4. It just doesn't work. I really do need the direct connection for the video streams here, but that's another story. the final episode of Star Trek Picard is tonight, or this today at least. I'll probably catch up with it tomorrow night. So looking forward to that final episode for those that are keen on Star Trek. Thanks, Martin. Anyway, across to Andrew, VK3KIS, VK3EKH.
Been playing around with that technology of late. Hope you're keeping well, and thanks for doing the broadcast. VK3EKH, VK3KIS73.
Yeah, no worries, Andrew. VK3KIS, VK3EKH. You're just a little bit low in frequency, not by much though. Excuse me, just a tad low, but I can correct for that. Not a problem. But no, you're hovering around 5 and 9. 5 and 9, perhaps peaking up around 10 over. So good signal from you. Normally you're a bit tricky to hear with the band noise, but it's quite quiet tonight. So very good. But again, thanks for your comments too, and it makes it all worthwhile. That is for sure. But yeah, no, it sounds okay. Radio sounds okay. Running off the batteries there, and you're doing quite well indeed with that particular wireless. All right, I shall take one more quick listen, and then we'll close down. This is VK3EKH. Any other stations wishing to check in? Oh, there was somebody very, very weak. Who was that again? Just a bit too weak. Anybody else copy that station?
Was it 5 Whiskey X-ray?
VK5 Whiskey X-ray, VK3EKH. Aha, all right, VK9. That's from a few weeks ago too. Just checking my my log. Yeah, Sand. VK9 Whiskey X-ray. G'day, Sand. Thanks very much for checking in. Not very strong. Not as strong as you were when you first called in on the 10th of March. But we can hear you there. But we have acknowledged you. VK9 Whiskey X-ray, Sand, VK3 EKH. Go ahead. VK9WX, VK3EKH. Yeah, just a little tricky to hear there, San. Can make you out to a small degree. My noise floor is around S6 at the moment. Actually, it's quite low. But but you're just in that noise floor. But look, I've got you in the log, and thanks very much for checking in. Good to hear you again, and excellent stuff indeed. I'm glad to be getting across there. And Peter, VK3ACZ, if you're still listening there, thanks very much for those reports too on the SDR from around the country and in New Zealand. Really good to see that the signal is getting out to a reasonable distance. So even out to sand there at that island. Forgotten what it's called again. Oh dear. Anyway, I'll just pop it quickly back to you there, Sand. See if we can make out a few words. VK9WX, VK3EKH.
Willis Island.
Thank you. Yeah, very tricky there, Sand. Very, very, very tricky to capture that. But we did get Willis Island. All right. Look, sorry, Sand. A bit difficult to copy you. I can hear you there. I can hear you, but it's just a bit tricky to hear what you're saying. So yeah. But you were definitely a better signal when you first called in there in March. Anyway, all right. I'll leave it at that. Again, thanks very much, everybody calling in tonight. And again, it makes it all worthwhile. I'll be back next Friday, of course, at 10 o'clock to do it all again with more interesting articles and maybe hopefully a new modern or update report from Tabitha as well. Anyway, that's another story. This is VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel on behalf of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, concluding transmissions for tonight. And may you have a nice weekend. For those having a long weekend, like me, yeah, enjoy the weekend. And our thoughts will be for those on Anzac Day. And yeah, we'll see you all next Friday. Take care. This is VK3EKH. More information about the Astronomical Society of Victoria can be found on the website at www.asv.org.au. Cheers, everyone. Take care. VK3EKH with CSJ on the microphone.
If you're still there, I'm going to chat to you soon when the frequency clears, VK3GRK. How are you, Graham? I'm VK3WV. Was that WG as in Whiskey Golf? VK3 Whiskey Victor. Oh, WV. Good evening. Yes, good evening. My name's Dennis. Yeah, hi there, Dennis. Yeah, got a little bit of noise, a little bit of local noise this end. VK3SPX, yeah, you're there for VK3GRK. VK3GRK, VK3SPX. Yes, I'm here, Graham. Yes, I listened to the Indigo on YouTube about the presence from the sky earlier. That was interesting. And yes, and also obviously Clip's session, VK3GRK, VK3SPX. No, that's good. Yeah, I'm glad it was. Yeah, I actually enjoyed it. It was really, really good. Yeah, Phil was sort of entertaining. The way he does the presentation, with throwing a little bits and pieces here and there, makes you have a chuckle. And it was funny because when he finished the presentation, Kathy was there too, his wife. Then she turned around to me and she said, "Oh, he's a bit of a dag, isn't he?" And, yeah, it was really good. It was so interesting, and we actually did track that balloon later on outside, and he was able to track it on the 402 meg receiver and antenna. So yeah, just so happened that there was a balloon there ready to track. So we went out after supper. But yeah, I didn't pick up the spelling of amateur radio on the website. I didn't pick that up, but I did see the regional information there. And yeah, so yeah, Graham's going to actually put the Zoom meeting detail, or make sure that the Zoom meeting details. Yeah, he's actually requested it. So yeah, so that's the sort of information that hasn't sort of been put up there yet, unless it's been put up there now. It may have, but yeah, there would have been a mammoth amount of information to transfer across to the new site. So yeah, so excellent. I'm glad that you're able to tune into the YouTube session. Yeah, VK3 SPX, VK3 GRK. VK3 GRK, VK3 SPX. Yeah, just couldn't make it to the meeting today, Graham. Had a bit of a catastrophe earlier on my making this text beam. One of my spreaders broke, so I'm trying to figure it.
Go up to 3545, Den. Aren't you watching ATV, Dennis? Three, 5, 4, 5.
I've been hearing a little bit more about them ever since. But just some matter of interest here, last night on the net, what sort of signal were you getting from me from where we were at Dow Park on 80?
No, I'm confused.
Oh, sorry, bro. I've just knocked the headphones off my head. I'm trying to reach over the drawer to find a bit of paper I wrote.
VK3WV, VK3CSJ calling on 3545. Why are you not on? Tune in to me. 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 5 5 4 3 2 1. You're obviously not watching ATV. VK3 WV, VK3CSJ, VK3WV, VK3CSJ calling on 3545. Have you netted in at this stage?
Yes, have you got me now? VK3CSJ, VK3WV.
Yep, I got you. You're obviously not watching the TV because I had the camera on 3545.
Thank Christ you did that. I don't know why you didn't hear me on 3541. Staggered at that. But actually tonight, I had the ATV on, but I had the sound down. I was actually watching you on the BATC feed. And I thought, oh, well, that seems to be okay. And I was getting the audio direct on the 3541. And there wasn't that much of a delay, really. I think they've improved the BATC feed quite a bit, but there was no audio on the BATC feed. But anyway, look, I don't know why you didn't hear me on 3541. I would have thought I would have been over the top of the other guys.
No, I heard you call in, but then the other two started the conversation. So I went up to 3545, and I had the camera, as you can see. If you're still watching the repeater, I had the camera on the frequency. I was telling you 3545, and then I came up on 490 and said 3545 in case you were listening to Too Local. But I was sitting on 3545, and I could hear you coming up on 41. So anyway, we managed to get you up the 4 kilohertz or so. Oh dear. Anyway, all very good and excellent stuff. So you sound a bit tired. VK3WV, VK3CSJ.
Yeah, okay, Clint. VK3CSJ, VK3WV. Yeah, that's the problem, you see. Too many bits of input of data, and none of them in sync, as it turns out. As I say, the BATC feed was actually pretty good. I was actually a bit impressed with it tonight. Not too bad at all. But there was no audio on it, so that's why I started listening on 3541. The only problem with it is if I do that, then I come off 490. I use the 706 on HF and 490, and I've got the other one on RMC. So I wasn't actually sure at this stage whether you got your mobile transceiver back in working mode again on RMC. I know you're going to replace the driver chip. Obviously, you haven't got to that at this point. No, I give you a call tonight on the way home, and nothing happened. And the last couple of nights, I was late arriving.
Hello.
I was already.
Oh, it's working. Yep.
Oh, that's okay. Last couple of nights, I gave you a call, but it was late. I was late arriving home, so it was just after 4. So I figured I'd already missed you anyway. But tonight, I didn't think I would have missed you. So I guess it's because your radio is just not going at all. VK3CSJ, VK3WV.
Yeah, VK3WV, VK3CSJ. Yeah, I was just checking the audio on the repeater. It's picking me up okay, but I was just wondering if how much the audio is being picked up from the radio, but it's fairly way down. I must... It wouldn't be hard to do, but I must really try and take an audio feed from the receiver on 80 meters and pipe that into the mixer, so everybody can hear the other side of the party. Sometimes the microphone will pick it up, but I think the problem is it doesn't matter. Anyway. No, I haven't repaired the radio. It's still sitting on the workbench, so it's not going to be easy to do. Part of the circuit track has lifted, and it's not been torn or damaged so much, but so I just need to clean it because there's a lot of black charcoal from where the component destroyed itself. That needs to be cleared, and the circuit track pressed flat to the board as much as possible. But it's the heatsink side of it that needs to be sort of dealt with some sort of respect, because if this component's not properly earthed, or not so much earthed, but properly bonded to the heat sinking side of the radio, it can overheat and we'll have the same problem again. So I need to investigate that. There's actually an interesting article on the internet. Somebody's gone down the same road to replace this component, and that's where I'm getting the information about the heatsink side of things. So I just haven't got back to it. As soon as I get home from work, I'm pretty tired. Often I'll be sitting in front of the computer and TV screen, and I'll probably nod off a little bit here and there, and before I know it, I'm sitting in a dark room. So it's very, very hard for me to get motivated to do anything like that in the evening hours. So I'll try and take a look at it this weekend. I've got a couple of people coming around tomorrow. Graham's doing a drive-by tomorrow. Him and Ellison are heading off to Geelong tomorrow. So Graham's doing a drive-by here to drop off a little mixer, Behringer mixer, that he wants to part with, which I will use probably, at least initially, I'll use on the Telefunken transmitter as a driver, mic driver, for the Auburn unit. Oh yeah, and we've got Steve, VK3 YJQ, Mr. Bentley, coming around tomorrow to pick up a few meters of coaxial cable that he needs to facilitate in running some new cables on the hydrogen receiver up at the dish. So little things like that. So that'll all be sort of happening in the afternoon, amongst other things. So I'll try to take a look at this radio this weekend if I can. In fact, there's one small issue in trying to remove this this driver device. I did damage a small ceramic capacitor, and I have no idea what value it is. There's no circuit diagrams for this Watson quadbander. Even the article on the internet about replacing this driver, the person writing the article says that Watson just don't make circuit diagrams easily available. So I have no idea what this capacitor is, but it's a surface mount chip, and one side of it's been damaged. So that's another thing that's going to stifle getting this thing working again. So yeah, I'll just be off the radio from the car for a little while, and I might be able to do something else. I've got other mobile radios that I might be able to bring in line. So we'll just see. Losing my voice here. What else? But anyway, it's been I should turn my YouTube off. I'm broadcasting to the world here. Yeah, okay, on the BATC feed. Yeah, no, the sound has always been dodgy with that BATC feed. I think it works on RTV2, but not on RTV1. So that's just one of those little things that Phil has to work on. I think that's his domain. Up there on the repeater is the computer that runs those feeds to BATC. So nevertheless, we're getting there. The RTV has not failed me tonight, from what I can see. It's been holding in beautifully well. So excellent stuff. And of course you're up to date with the down converters. So it'll be really interesting when Rob gets finally gets the repeater operating. yeah, it'd be interesting to see how we go in seeing it and or getting into it as well. It's a nice thought to we'll have another repeater to have a bit of a playthrough, hopefully. Anyway, I don't think there's much else to report on at this point. Yeah. VK3WV, VK3CSJ.
Yes, I can see that you're a tired man. You actually look tired. So I guess you've had it. That's the long and the short of it. Yeah, okay. Okay, well, the boys coming tomorrow, and hope they hope he mix us solve the problem for you. And the other thing, some coke. Oh yeah, that's very good. Yeah, you've had a bit of a bad run lately, haven't you? I mean, hell, all these radios that you've had expiring, and difficult to do something with. Sounds like for that capacity, you'd better have a sort of a couple of selections of a few capacitors around with you. I take it's probably a coupling capacitor or something like that, but it might be a bypass. So stick your rig on the output meter or whatever, and just manually try substituting a couple of pigtail type ones in there, just to see when you get back to where you want to be. Start with I don't know, 5 PF, and then go to a 50, and then go to a 500, and see if all your problems are solved. Anyway, I think that's a third. Your Pro 3's expired, your 2000's expired, your mobile Wotion's expired. You're not having a good run lately, are you? Not real good. I saw that message you sent me about the Pro 3 that was available for about $800 or whatever it was. And I thought, I was originally pretty interested, but then I thought, is it getting near the age now where things can go wrong? Well, of course they can go wrong with anything brand new even. But now, sort of having a look at your situation, I'm thinking, do I really want to get into this? And of course, you made the comment that you come home at night and you're not really interested in playing with it. Well, I can understand that fully, because I'm not interested in playing with them at all, ever, anymore. So on that basis, I don't really want to get anything that I might have to do some work on. I've got a few radios up the back that, well, it took me, how long did it take me to do that damned car radio? It took me weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And I've had another couple since, which Fred presented me with. And I'm just pushed him in the corner. It seems to be a thing that greatly doesn't excite me anymore. So anyway, yeah, I'm up to date on the converters. It'd be interesting to see what happens with that. I've got just a little bit of an interest to see what's going to occur with that. But I'll have to arrange something in terms of a pole to put an aerial on. I can't really put it on the existing one, and I can't really rotate it on the existing one. So I might have to get a bit of water pipe or something and strap it up outside just to see how it goes. Anyway, I suppose I better let you hit the clock. It's about 10 past 12, almost, and you've probably had a fairly long day. VK3CSJ, VK3WV.
Yeah, okay, guys. Just seeing if I can take an audio from the Pro 3. Hang on a sec. Let's see where I've got to plug it. Oh, it's a phono plug. Alright, I've got the wrong plug. I don't know what I just plugged into. I need a phono plug to take audio from the back of the Pro into the mixer. I'm just mucking around with that right now. of course. What is it? Speaker is the one next to the ALC. So speaker is so just come up on 80 for a sec then. It's not working. Hang on a sec. All right. Come up again, then. Oh, just do a quick test transmission.
Yes, you dropped it entirely there for a while.